What's up, everyone? It's your boy Unruly back at it again with another video. So I know it's been a while. I haven't uploaded in a minute, and I've been trying to get this Hardpoint series done, but had some coaching things I needed to do. And the original video for this cave, the audio wasn't recorded, so we got to do it again. So what we're going to go over again today is we're going to go over all of your rotations for Ahzir Cave. We're going to go over cuts and specific areas you want to be paying attention to on the map, spots that block off certain spawns, long lines of sights that your AR players should be focusing on. And this map is very difficult for sub players, so I'm going to go over a couple spots on the map that are extremely beneficial for sub players. Try to make sure that make your job a little bit easier on the map, especially if you have to sit in the hill. So as you see on the screen here, each point is labeled on the map here. First hill, second hill, third, fourth, and fifth as labeled on the map. As you can see, all the callouts that are usually, these are common callouts throughout the AM scene and pro scene, so you guys are going to and hopefully understand where exactly on the map you want, where I'm describing, and where you should be sitting in that particular area. So for the first hill, I'm going to do this in white. So for the first hill, we're going to go per spawn. So for B, we're going to start with B spawns, okay? B spawns is allegiance in this case. For this map, to set up for the first hill, you always want to send someone, granted an AR player. This is a very heavy AR-oriented map. So you want to have an AR player sit in and around here. That AR player's role is very important because they're to prevent the flip that Coalition is going to try and do when it comes to this hill. You want a player in yellow. You want a player obviously in the hill. Along this mid wall here, you want an AR player there. And you want another player in and around this garage area or top broken, because you want to make sure that you're not letting the flip happen. You don't want the spawns to flip, because for the Allegiance side, your spawns benefit the equal fight when it comes to the first hill, but you have spawns for second hill, so it's easier to rotate, and spawns are everything when it comes to Hardpoint. Now when it comes to breaking this hill, you want to have a hill presence, because your goal isn't necessarily to win this hill. It sounds crazy, but the goal isn't necessarily to win this hill yet. You want to play for the flip. You want to prioritize spawns, because then it makes the game easier for you. Your team sets up and they get those kills to lock down certain areas of the map and amount the most hill time you could possibly get. So in order for this setup to happen, you want to send a player obviously to the hill. This pottery or sniper building you want there, because you want to handle making sure nobody comes from yellow or pushes up the middle of the map. You don't want anybody pushing up through here, which if Allegiance knows what they're doing, they shouldn't be pushing up. They should be playing passive on this hill and making sure that you don't perform the flip that you need to do. You want to send one or two players. I personally prefer flipping the cave side. So sending a presence on the cave side is going to be good, but you can always sneak a player if they're not paying attention to the right side here of the cliff side, towards the soccer field on the bridge. Usually you can end up sneaking a player and getting into these back spawns, and that'll start forcing them to spawn back here where you started, or deep further back here, depending on how far you get back there. That's important. So when it comes to the first hill, you want to do this exact setup here. When it comes to the A spawn, you want to go for the flip. You don't necessarily you want to contest the hill, of course, because you never want to give anybody free hill time unless you're rotating and it is very little. You don't want to give them free hill time off the rope. So you want to contest and you want to play for the flip. For Allegiance spawns, if you have spawns for the first and second hill, you want to play passively. You want to do a setup similar to this to prevent them from flipping and get you that hill time you need to. So that's how I recommend you set up for this initial hill for both teams here. I'm going to clear my screen and we're going to go over to the next hill. So hill number 2 is a pretty easy hill to defend when it comes, especially if you have the spawns for it. You want a player on the sandbags area watching Olive Cave. You want a player laying down. I have to stress this enough, laying down inside this hill, because your AR players on both sides of the team are going to be raining hell all through this area here. They're going to be watching top sandbags. You're going to be watching both sides of the caves. They're going to be pushing this hill, especially if they don't get the spawns. They're going to be pushing through this cave choke point. So you want to lay down. You want to watch. And particularly, the person in the hill wants to be watching this section here, the push. Sandbags is in charge of watching white truck too as well, unless you send a player white truck, which is not a bad idea. White truck, you want to watch cliffside too. And then the rest of your teammates, they want to play in and around here and in and around here. It's kind of like a house in a sense, if you look at where my markers are, because you want to maximize the protection of this corner, which is the hill. It's easy to do if you get the rotation set back up. For this instance, if you don't get the flip, you want to play, obviously you want to send 2 people cave, like I said before. It's important that you get a cave presence. That way they don't push up and it makes them harder to rotate to P3. Playing inside this cut area is important too when it comes to pushing, and you want to flip spawns. So you want to send probably to this cave side, because you want to flip spawns, you want to break this, you want to get back here. The goal is to get back here. This is beneficial for the team that didn't rotate or had spawns before, because now they have spawns in the general location of the third hill. So your job for that team is to contest or take as much time as possible, and then back up if you don't overtake the hill. For instance, if you had these spawns, your goal is to protect and then rotate. Makes sense, but here's the reason why I say that, is because teams like to rotate too early and they lose the fight at the hill, and then they lose that scrap time and they're forced to spawn out or set up for the next hill. So for this team, or for the spawn, particularly for this hill, you want to make sure that they don't produce the flip, and then at like 20 or so seconds, you want to get out of there. You want to send your 4 guys out, leave 1 man for the hill, they push the scrap, it's whatever, because the team that didn't get these spawns here, all they have to do is back up. They're going to beat you to the race here. And I'm going to explain how you set up for this hill. Clear my screen here again. For this hill, we're going to go with a team that didn't get the spawns for P2. So you want to set up over here. You want a person in the back stairs heady. Obviously an AR-oriented map. You want to be head glitching this. You want to be watching bridge, and you want to be watching the cross into here. You're going to need a player inside the hill. Particularly play these corners here. This corner of the map towards spiral, and this corner of the building here. You don't want to be sitting out wide open in the hill, because this is an AR-oriented map. You're going to get gunned out. You have hardly any cover. Sit in these corners and make them jump out and challenge you to get you out of the hill, because them jumping in front of you exposes them, not you. Makes sense. You want a player playing middle map. You want to play middle map spiral, because you don't want them to flank. After coming through, they'll come through cave, they'll flank and hit the pinch. And you want to have a player in and around broken or the garage area. This hill is very flexible. You just want to make sure that you're watching mid and your flank, because the player in the hill, he's going to be hiding. He's going to be in one of those corners. They have to jump out into the hill, expose themselves to get the kills, which is why stairs and that sub player in the hill, sub players, I can't express this enough, sub players need to be in the hill. This is not a sub-oriented map. You're going to be watching cutoffs, that's it. You're going to be watching small, close spaces, that's it. You need to get the hill time. I recommend running 4 ARs this map, because of the long lines of sights and rotations. Sub player sits in the hill, gets the guys that jump in, play more of an objective role. For the attacking team, for who doesn't get these rotations, you want to get into broken, but focus on the 4th hill. So you want to play in and along broken, you want to make sure you get the kill garage, and you want to make sure you lock down the middle of the map. I recommend, if you don't get the initial break, send someone to 4 right away, because this is not a hill you want to be fighting old, because what will end up happening is this team that's already set up here first, all they have to do is back up and swing it around. You're still spawning back here from P2. You're going to have to come all the way down here to contest, and then you're going to have to come all the way back through here to get to P4. It's not a timely rotation. It's not good. You want to focus and play for the next hill. Contest the time. It's kind of like the first hill. You want to contest the time. You don't want to over commit to the hill if you're beaten out there. And this is a hill that's really hard to rotate to, especially if you're the team that got second hill spawns and not first hill spawns, because it's really hard. It's a long rotation over, and it's just not fun. So you want to play for the 4th hill. You want to make sure that you can test. If you do get the break, you need to push forward. If you do get the break, you want to push forward into this next hill and try to get them while they rotate, or as they go through middle map. I'll make sure you get that. So I'm going to clear my screen again. We're going to go over the 4th hill. Now this 4th hill, if you get here first, it is one of the easiest hills to actually protect. And I say this because there's so much cover within this hill. You want to send a player, there's a box section here. There's a box, you want to sit there, and you want to watch the well drop. That's all they have to do. That's where the sub player should sit. Their ARs are watching over them. We should have this in blue. If you are the team that gets here first with the rotation, you're going to have your ARs watching over you, watching this choke point, sub in the hill, and you probably want to send people to push up through here. It's really a simple, like, you want to clog the lanes with these AR players. One person watching each area, the sub player sits in the hill, gets the time, easy peasy. The team that didn't get the rotation to 4 is the benefited team for rotation to the 5th hill. You'll be playing in and around this cave area, trying to flood and break the hill. And then after you flood or break, the rest of your team backs up, and you practically play almost similar to P2. So you'll have a player sitting at the white truck, you'll have a player sitting in the cut, you have a player sitting sandbags. You'll back up and essentially be set up for P5 already, which is good. It's a really easy kind of, you just back up. If you don't win the scrap time, you just back up. If you don't win the initial and your first break's unsuccessful, but you can test the time, just back up and set up for 5. This map is long lines of sights, long rotations. Just back up and set up. So we're going to go over the setup for number 5. Both teams here. And we're going to start with white first, because they're the team that can rotate back. Like I said before, you want to teammate sandbags, you want to teammate cave cut, white truck, in the hill. And often or not, teams have a player pushed up here, because with losing the 4th rotation, they're forced to come through this cave section, which ARs are watching. come out and come through cave cut, and they have to come for the pinch. What will happen is if they are dying in cave, they're going to be spawning at P4 or P3 because you have this top section of the map. So they're not going to be spawning anywhere. They're not going to be. They shouldn't be spawning back here at all. This game does have freakish spawns, but ideally, if sandbags is back farther enough, you're not going to get spawned back there. And they're going to be. They want these spawns right here because instant. You're just right there. That's the spawns they're going to be playing for. I like to think of hardpoint maps as symmetrically when it comes to spawns. So if they're spawning on the top half of the map, the game's like, okay, we got to get you closest to the point as possible, but not to where you die right away. So you're going to be spawning close to the middle bottom of the map, okay? So like if you're spawning P2, or if your team has spawns for P2, you're going to be spawning in front of P4 or middle map of P1 to get you as close as possible, but so you don't die right away. That's the spawning algorithm in the game. Is get you as close to the objective as possible, but not to where an enemy is watching that specific spot. So that's the breakdown of this map. Those are the spots your team should be setting up to watch the rush routes and the important sections of the map. Sub players you want to be playing in and along the hill. Cave cuts are your best friends when it comes to this map. And we're going to actually highlight that in red here. Is cave cut sections are your best friends in this map. Playing inside cave as a sub player at these entrances to the cave as a sub player's like gold mine is you play small close areas like a sub player would. Don't take ranged gunfights in the middle of the map. Make sure your ARs are doing that. You should be running 4 ARs. It should be a 4 AR meta for this map. One sub, that sub needs to be playing in the hill and clean out anybody in that hill. Your ARs are responsible for watching the rotations and rotating themselves because they need to make sure that you can get into the hill yourself when the rotation happens. So that's Ahzir Cave. Don't hesitate to pause the video and write down where you should be watching this. Like, these are basic setups that your team should be able to handle, set up properly, and get the most hill time possible. Like I said before, it's a very AR heavy map, so sub players are going to have difficulty playing in this map because they can't take ranged gunfights. So they should be playing within the hill and watching the smaller cuts. I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you have any comments down below, suggestions, just let me know. I read everything, and if you do subscribe, thank you so much for supporting me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.